Welcome everybody to a brand new edition of Real Talk with Dameon Nelson. Dameon Nelson coming here with on Tuesday, May 17, 2016. And damn, where has this year been going? Thank you so much for joining us again. You can follow me on Twitter, continue the conversation, keep the conversation, join the conversation, be a part of the conversation at Dameon Nelson. That's at DAMEONNELSON. No spaces, no periods, no underscores. All right, so I'm here on the Real Talk. What we do is we talk real. We talk about things going on in the world, not about wrestling. Usually. Sometimes there's some wrestling thrown in, but in general, it's about things going outside the world. And as we talked about before, and as I started a couple of days ago on the Twitter machine, is discussion on taxes. You know, it's political season. We've got two highly qualified and well-loved candidates running for president in Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Let's see what happens when Mark Cuban gets involved. He won't, but he will, but he won't. Who cares at this point? I'm so done with it. I don't even know if I'm going to have the energy or the skill or the monster to go out and vote in November, but I'm going to have to. You know, David Hurrell said something interesting on the Double D last week. Write yourself in. He's going to write himself in. I wonder if that is the campaign that should be levied in this country for those who are dissatisfied. Still come out and vote, but write yourself in. Write yourself in. And while that won't show, it won't appear, it won't do anything, but if we can at least get a tally of write-in candidates that were identified in November, I think that would send the message that a lot of people who voted for Trump were trying to send, which you're a freaking idiot if you vote for somebody to send a message to somebody else. If you didn't learn your lesson with this Tea Party bullshit back in 2010, you're never going to learn. If you don't know, you won't know. But anyways, that was a tirade I didn't plan on getting on. But what I do want to talk about are taxes. I asked the question on Twitter because Bernie Sanders sent out a tweet about the rich finally having to pay their fair share. And I shared my tax philosophy, which is this. And people have said it before, but it's a flat tax based on a zero-based budget. Let me explain. You, me, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Mark Cuban, Bernie Sanders, everybody pays the same percentage of taxes on their income. Everybody pays the same percentage. Now, what is that percentage? Yes, it's a flat tax. What is that percentage? I don't know. But that percentage should not be based on our current level of federal spending, because the other part of this, the part that makes it work, at least from what I can gather, is you start at zero. Everybody starts at zero. Department of Defense, Department of Education, Department of Agriculture, everybody starts at zero. And I talked about this a little bit last week. Everybody starts at zero. You, Department of Education, if you're spending, let's say, $20 billion, that's your budget. Okay, justify it for me. Show me where every penny of that $20 billion is going. And we have a goal of achieving 10%, 20%, 30% savings. So you do that across the board. You go week by week. You pick a department, you pick apart their budget. And this 1,000-page federal budget that's passed every year, when it is passed, becomes a little thinner, because you're not just giving money away. Here's our current system. I work, you work, everybody works. Most people work anyways. And your money is taken from you without any say. You have no say. Your money is taken from you. Stolen right out of your paycheck. And then the government spends it on whatever they choose to spend it on, right? You get a portion of it, all right, with Social Security, taxes, Medicare, things of that nature. Part of that does go back to you, again, without your choosing. And then that money's just spent frivolously. We spent $1 trillion on the war in Afghanistan. Whether you think we should have been there or not, I'm not going to get into that. But we spent $1 trillion on that war. Guess who paid for it? I did, you did, American people did. So now money's just being taken out of our checks, money's just being taken out of every dime we make and report and given away and spent. So zero-based budget, percentage-based flat tax. The rich should not pay more. It is a ludicrous thought process to say the rich should pay more because they're rich. Since they make more, they should pay more taxes. What? Because they make more, they should pay more taxes. Because you make less, you should pay less taxes. Now, the current system, there could be an argument for that, but there isn't. This thought process of penalizing the rich because they don't pay their fair share, if you will, is robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's a Peter Pan, not Peter Pan. Who was the guy that went around robbing from the rich and giving to the poor? That's not what it's about. Just because a person, these people have worked hard for their money in a lot of cases, and they shouldn't be forced to just give it away because they have it. That's silly. That's stupid. Now, do they take advantage of, much like Donald Trump has said, do they take advantage of loopholes and opportunities and laws that exist now to pay the very least amount of taxes that they can? Absolutely they do, but guess what? That's not their fault. That's not their fault. They're following the law. They're following the rules. These companies that take businesses, take their jobs and take their operations offshore and take them to lower paying countries, it's not against the law. Why wouldn't they do it? It's the process that needs to change. Not this theory of they're rich, I'm not, they should pay more, I should pay nothing. Who owes you anything? Who owes anybody anything? You're not entitled to their money because they're rich and they made it. Yes, CEOs make a lot of money. Sure, nothing wrong with it. It's the way it is. Everybody should aspire to get to that point in their life and make as much money as they are. Work your way up. Don't enter a job thinking you should be paid. I don't want to get into the minimum wage conversation, but work your way up. Put in the time. Earn it. Make as much money as they're making. Everybody can climb that ladder. Get an education. Support yourself. Everybody can climb that ladder. Everybody can be the rich that need to pay their fair share in taxes and give it away to those who make less. Again, under the current system, yes, there are problems. I don't disagree. But it's not the fault of the rich. It's not the fault of the poor. It's the fault of the policymakers. And oh, by the way, we got two people who have a 50-50 chance of going into office who ain't going to change a damn thing as far as that process goes. So no, the rich should not pay more in taxes. The 1% should not pay more in taxes. Is it a flawed system? Is it a flawed system that they have so much wealth and proportionate to those in the country who don't? Absolutely, it's a flawed system. But it's not their fault for working hard and earning their money and getting up to that point where they have money. It's not their fault. It's the system. And that system shouldn't change that because, and that's the way it is now to a degree, because you make X amount of dollars, you get over a certain threshold, your taxes are higher? What is that? If you make $15,000 a year and that flat rate is 10%, you should pay your 10%, your $1,500 in taxes. If you make $1 million a year and that flat tax rate is 10%, you pay your 10% of that $1 million, $100,000 a year in taxes. The rich would pay more in that instance. That's what we're asking for. We have to make it right. On the other side, as far as the spending and the budget, when I do my budget, when you do your budgets, you spend what you make. Maybe you're able to save a little. But our government's philosophy is you take what you spend. You take what you spend. Should companies be paying more taxes on their profits? Absolutely. Again, though, they're not breaking the law. They're taking advantage of the system that exists by the people we have voted into office over the course of the last several years. It is not their fault. And no, again, I will adamantly say, as a simplistic statement, the rich should not pay more. But the rich already pay more because the same examples I used earlier. If you're making $15,000 a year, your tax rate on a percentage basis is lower than that person making $1 million a year who is paying more taxes. Now, they might have diversified their $1 million in such a way that they may not be paying all of that higher tax percentage rate, but they're still paying more than that person making $15,000. So they might have stocks, they might have capital gains, they might have investments, they might have other things that they can take advantage of those loopholes with. Now, that person making $15,000 can do the same thing. So already what we're asking for, the rich to pay more, is happening. But it's so much more than that and much more complicated than being baited by that saying by the political candidates of the world. There's much more to it. And I think that there are a lot more smart people in this country than we are led to believe that there are. People who do this research, people who understand these same things, people who see these same things, and people who know the real deal of what's going on out there. Real talk, if you will. Speaking of real talk, we're doing a lot of it. So, that's what Dameon Nelson thinks about taxes. And Dameon Nelson pays a lot of damn taxes. Okay? I'm a homeowner. I don't have children. Yet I have to pay part of my property taxes, goes to the schools here in the city that I live in. I don't have kids. I'm not benefiting from that. Why should I be paying? You should pay taxes based on your utilization. If that were the case, a lot of people on the lower end of the tax scale would end up paying a lot more than they want to, or than they should be, to be quite honest with you. But this a lot of things, we really need to go back to square one and start over. Nobody's willing to do that. Nobody's willing to shake the system up enough to do that. These last series of elections should show the system, the political system in Washington, that us, the American people, want a change from this archaic way of doing business in this country. The 2008 election of President Obama was a sign. The 2016 nomination of Donald Trump to the Republican Party candidate for president is a sign. People just don't want to see those signs. I'm not calling for a revolution either, by the way, and no, I'm not going to move to Canada. Maybe Mexico, if Trump wins. But quite frankly, we're not going to be much better off if Hillary Clinton wins, by the way. And oh, by the way, the president's nothing more than a figurehead. I think the last 8 years have shown us that. And Barack Obama, President Obama, has done some great things, including passing the Affordable Care Act, or as some call it, Obamacare. Let me tell you about that, in case you don't know. So people say Obamacare has skyrocketed prices. People can't get doctors. All these problems with it. Everybody's going to repeal it. It's the worst thing that ever happened to man. Did you not realize that if you were paying for medical care before the Affordable Care Act, you were already paying for everybody else's health care? They were passing those costs off to everybody. Those who didn't have health care, going to the ER, getting medical treatment, all that other stuff, the hospitals incurred those costs. They passed that on in the fees they charge to everybody else. It's just like in the retail environment. Shoplifting goes up, slip goes up. They got to raise prices to compensate for those things going away. It was the same thing that was happening in the healthcare industry. Oh, the healthcare companies aren't going to make the billions they were making. Whoops, sorry. I thought that's what happened in a free economy. So that was the whole Obamacare thing, if you will. We were already paying for it, and now those who weren't paying for it need to get on board and start paying their fair share for the healthcare they're using. And the costs should go down for everybody. Pretty simple, isn't it? There's a documentary on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, it's called Obama's Deal. Whether you like the man or not, you get a very deep insight into the political process and how things work, because it's a documentary by PBS. I believe it was either Frontline or Nova, but I think it was Frontline, about what had to happen and the compromises that had to be made to get that Affordable Health Care Act passed. The things that the president wanted to do, the things he said he was going to do, and then the things he had to walk away from, step back from, or compromise on in order to get something passed. It really shows you the broken nature of our political system right now, and the challenges that any sitting president will go through, especially an unpopular sitting president. I mean, unpopular with the people we had to work with in Washington. Shows you what they need to go through. Watch that instead of watching Game of Thrones or whatever else the big popular TV show is this year that everybody knows more about than their political goings-ons in the world. I said everybody, that's not fair. 92% of the country. So do that. And again, this is Real Talk. It's my thoughts, how I feel, what I think, and I do a lot of thinking about this stuff, more so than maybe I should. And I'd love to hear your feedback, your comments, your interpretation, your opinion. At Dameon Nelson on Twitter, That's at DAMEONNELSON, at Dameon Nelson on Twitter. Share your thoughts. Share with me what you think, your opinions, your thoughts. And I love having an engaging and constructive conversation on social media. Constructive conversation on social media. There's no need to say that because someone disagrees with you, they're stupid, they're an idiot, they're a fool, they're whatever other name you want to call. That's a good way to get ignored. But to say or ask or try to understand an opposing opinion is a sign of intellectual prowess. Try that. And a lot of you do that, and I do enjoy engaging with a lot of you on social media and talking to you about this stuff. You notice that, of course, this Real Talk is a little bit different. It sounds a little better, I hope anyways, and it looks a little different because you can actually see it now. I'm very happy to have stepped into this new studio environment and be able to bring you not only this podcast, but breaking news updates and more content as it is necessary to be released here from the Pro Wrestling Report company, if you will. So I want to thank you for engaging and interacting. I got a little more worked up than that one I thought I would. I am looking forward to the next couple of months in this political process. I'm looking forward to hearing Donald Trump's tax plan. I'm looking forward to hearing Donald Trump's foreign policy plan, the real one. I'm looking forward to hearing Donald Trump's domestic policy plan. I'm looking forward to hear Donald Trump's plan on anything, actually, going forward. You got this far with no substance. Maybe he's going to get further. Folks, that's Real Talk. Thanks for joining me. I'm Dameon Nelson. Follow me on Twitter, at Dameon Nelson. Subscribe to this podcast right here on iTunes. Support us. Make these shows more frequent, more ready. You get them every Tuesday now, but maybe who knows? If the download numbers blow up, we can do them more often. Real Talk with Dameon Nelson on the PWR Now Network. It's also a standalone podcast under the same name title. Real Talk with Dameon Nelson. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for watching and joining us here in video form as well. We'll see you Thursday for the Double D podcast with David and myself. Peace out, everybody.